Hello and welcome to Double Jump Gaming News, your source for college video game news and culture. My name is Cody.
And my name is Sabina.
Today we will discuss the recent Tom Clancy title, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and we will be discussing the recent gameplay reveal of Shadow of War.
But first, let's dive into the gaming news of this week.
Last week, we saw the release of the Nintendo Switch, and user issues are rolling in. YouTuber KrobyCat has made a compilation video of various shortcomings from the Switches being dead on arrival to game cartridges not working and the ease of scratching the console's screen.
I've been seeing a bunch of videos where people will try to put those like wrist straps
Yes.
on the controllers and then they just won't come off.
You slide these off, and there's a minus. I don't know. Oh. There's a minus. And
there's a plus.
Yeah.
Ah, it's funny.
And some people are matching up the controllers so that the plus is going into the minus, and that causes an issue with the Switch. So they'll slide in really easily, but sliding them out
won't slide out easy at all.
doesn't work. So you have people that probably can't match up batteries to save their life, trying to match a minus with a minus and a plus with a plus.
Well, I can understand why some people might be a little bit confused, because normally you think plus and minus go together. So like, why would minus?
Batteries.
Yeah, so that's why I can understand the confusion, and I definitely would have been one of those people who made that mistake.
If I ever used the wrist strap.
Yeah, honestly.
I never needed the wrist strap because I've been playing Zelda, and anytime I take it off, it's like, I should really get a wrist strap for this. I'm just gonna play Zelda. Mine. So don't use that thing. Like, honestly, go wait for a third party to correct this issue, because I'm not too sure if this is something that's, that Nintendo's going to address. They're also not addressing the fact that, if you have enough dead pixels on the screen, they don't care still.
That makes me so sad. Like, if I got my Switch and it just had dead pixels.
In the dead center, which I've had a DS that had that.
If it was in the dead center, I would just look at this and be like, I guess I'm not playing this game ever again.
Because you're just, there's a white dot.
Yeah, it's like, what do?
What? Why is it always there?
The thing that I really don't like is, so like, both of us have like this fancy little case on it that like really helps it out. And like, it like sits nicely. Like those iPad cases, it really helps out.
Please don't use the screen protector provided with this thing. It's pretty bad.
I hate it.
Except if you want to get a screen protector, you have to, they're rolling out now, but they delayed the release of a lot of them, so they weren't even available. So the glass screen protector, I think that I ordered is coming tomorrow or the next day, but right now there's a lot of Switch issues that need to be worked out. Did you ever also see the Insignia case?
No, what is it?
So there is an Insignia case that if you put, and I actually saw one and tried to put my Switch into it, that if you put a Switch inside of this thing, it's not measured right. It's like 2 inches bigger than what the Switch is, and the straps are like, essentially, the straps would be going right like here and maybe here, and there's this giant gap in between.
Oh, that's rough.
It's not so good. So that's kind of been another issue, just picking up that Insignia case. It's not a good idea.
I just kind of wish that these cases would actually fit in the charging dock.
Yes,
that's the only thing, because it can prevent the screen scratching.
Get rid of the plastic piece in front of the charging dock, which is another issue, is that it's scratching the screens a lot. So let's hopefully some people make some fan-made workarounds or some third parties make some workarounds, but it's been a rough launch.
Yeah. In other news, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has been out for less than a week, and programmers have already created a working emulator of the Wii U capable of running the game, provided you have the right hardware. So far, no sound is playing, and the game runs at very low frame rate. However, a Patreon to help the developers of the emulator finish support for Zelda has reached over 9,000 per month of support.
So this is to get your PC to run Breath of the Wild, which around Skyward Sword was easily possible, considering how quickly people were making the Wii emulator and how long the Wii was out. Now the Wii U's, dead. Let's just dead.
Pretty
it's
much.
Dead, Jim. And people have been working on Wii U emulators that are capable of running Mario 3D World with a decent PC. So now it's just a matter of, that work ethic in order to make sure that we can get a working version of Zelda off that Wii U emulator and, let you play the game at 1080p, hopefully 60 frames a second one day. The game might be locked down to 30 frames as a cap, but people are really, investing money into this in order to get these guys who know how to do it but need the time to do it to get them the funding they need. $9,000 a month.
Yeah, people really want this.
I just wonder how many people are working on it because I didn't really take a look into that. But it's just it's amazing just how quickly the emulator scene for the Wii U showed up. I know that the people are talking about a PS4 emulator and stuff like that, but Nintendo emulators are always coming out, and they're always the first one to pop up.
But isn't some of like the joy of the Zelda, especially Breath of the Wild, the fact that you can bring it with you places?
Not
that you
the
can
Wii
kind
U.
of.
What's the point? But some people just want to play on the laptop or something if they have that kind of laptop.
Oh yeah, of course. If you had the or like if you have the Switch, play it on the Switch.
More importantly, they want to play the game at full resolution or 4K. Like they can't do that on the Switch. That's 900p. That's not even 1080p when it's docked.
Oh yeah.
So that's all the news for this week. But stick around after the break when we discuss a big new release this week: Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. But
while you're waiting, be sure to check out our website at doublejumpgamingnews.com for more content.
welcome back to Double Jump Gaming News. I'm Cody.
And I'm Sabina.
Earlier this week, Ubisoft released Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. With us today are Connor and Patrick to talk about their impressions of the game. So far, I know the game hasn't been out too long, but what have you guys been doing the past 2 days or so since the release?
Well, we are very lucky. We live together, so we have the same living room. So what we usually do is we set up two screens right next to each other, and we play a lot of the co-op. And some really awesome parts about that is just when you play with someone else, it's just so much to do. A lot of the times we just are driving around in like a vehicle together, and then all of a sudden start getting attacked, and then it's just, I guess we'll take these people out. It's a lot of like missions on the way to missions that you're like, oh, I'm meant to do one thing, but I've done 80 other things before even starting that one.
Did you guys play Far Cry before this?
Yeah.
So does it feel like the Far Cry co-op from Far Cry 4? Or like
I never played the co-op of Far Cry, but it does have a lot of like qualities that I would say Far Cry has, like as far as like using stealth to complete your missions, stuff like that.
And using going from point A to point B on the map, and, 20,000 things in between that to distract you until you finally do objective 2.
Yeah, like you have your main mission, but there's 100 other missions on the way. So.
Okay. And then if you wanted to do everything else but the main mission, you could still do that.
Totally possible.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's actually funny that you mentioned that is our friend who has the game as well came into our living room. He's like, "What are you guys like? How far are you? What do you guys you beat?" Like the other day, we're like, well, we haven't gotten anywhere yet. we're still just doing level up missions and stuff like that. He goes, why? We're like, it was fun.
Just grinding, leveling up your character.
Besides co-op, is there anything else to that, or is it just plain co-op at that point?
Well, there is a single player, obviously. Okay. And when you play single player, you have like 3 other like, I guess, NPCs follow you around and like they help you
in place of what your friends
in place of like the co-op of.
And it's up to 4 players per squad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the interesting thing too about the co-op versus single player is in the single player when you have these other 4 people or NPCs following you, you can use a sync shot where you can line up like 4 shots and then have them all start taking people out from around. But when you go into the co-op mode, that just kind of like labels them 1 and 2, so you and the people playing, well, okay, this is my guy, this is your guy. So that's like some of the single player is a little bit more fun with that because you can kind of do some of the bigger missions and stuff like by yourself, where co-op is you really got to use co-op and really work with the people around you.
Because like in Far Cry, you would kind of lose, if you played single player, you only get a single person in Far Cry, but if you play co-op, obviously you get that second person, but it kind of just like, whatever, how many players you have is just the amount of players you're going to be in the game. This one sounds like it's going to be a little bit more open and accessible and always co-op to some degree, even if you're playing single player.
Yeah, I mean, the game is pretty much all online, so.
Can you also play with random people if you don't have a friend to play with? Or?
Yeah, there is just open matchmaking lobbies. Okay. I haven't yet so far done that as we play together, but I have just fallen into them because it's kind of a weird system with the button layout. All of a sudden, like one button does one thing, and then a prompt comes up, and like A takes you to
changes to a different thing.
Yeah, and
there's not enough buttons in order to make the developer happy. So they're just like, let's make the jump button and also the button that turns on the car.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I used to play like Tom Clancy on like the GameCube with my brother. And when you would do multiplayer, you could have someone using the old like the Game Boy Advance where you plug it in. And with like co-op there, you would have the person who looks here was able to see enemies and stuff. So with the co-op in the newer games, like what can you actually do?
Well, like you get a drone, so like you can like be hiding in a bush or something, and just like send up your drone and like it'll like survey the entire area for you, which helps because when you are connected through online with a co-op, like all your squad like gets all your notifications and stuff.
Yeah, the marks are
cool.
shared.
Your marks.
Which makes it a whole lot easier, especially when you're moving through stuff and you're like, we have one person who's like, okay, you just start moving and I'll just fly the drone above you and start picking out people so you're not all of a sudden surrounded by people not knowing. So we just play with 2, but you can really see where 4 is kind of what the number they're going for. There's a lot of places where you just kind of need multiple fronts coming in.
Do you not get AI players if there's 2 players, and then is it 2 players then 2 AI, or is it just 2 players, that's it?
It depends on how you set it up. Like if I set up my game as like a single person, like where I need the 3 or 4 NPCs, and then he joins, those NPCs will still be following me around, as will he. But if I start my game and then run away from them, and then he joins, like they'll disappear. They won't be needed.
I mean, naturally, you kind of ditch them for your friends. So I don't see why they wouldn't want to be your friend at that point. So I'd do the same.
It's like, well, fine, I'm not needed.
This is how World of Warcraft works, guys.
Do you think the AIs are actually like useful, or are they more like
trouble
them to work?
I don't know how well the game can be played without the other AIs while you're doing it. You really, there's a lot of things where you just can't see people like from where you are, and you're like, I can't really keep moving without someone else taking this guy out.
It's definitely possible to like get stuck in a bunker and like you're just stuck, and you need those people to like come get you out.
And then the weirdest thing though is about the co-op. Like, so when you get into cars though, when you're playing with just the NPCs, they all run to get into your car. So it's very easy to start driving off. You're like, I only got 2 of them in here. Like, gotta go back. But it doesn't happen all that often. They're pretty quick to get into the vehicles.
All right, that sounds great. So Ghost Recon just came out this week, so probably a very popular game.
When we come back, we will be discussing the recent gameplay reveal of the upcoming Middle-earth Shadow of War, the follow-up to the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor.
Welcome back to Double Jump Gaming News. My name is Cody.
And I'm Sabina.
And today we're going to have a guest with us, James. So what did you think about the gameplay reveal?
I'm excited about it, actually.
Did you play the original too?
Yeah, I did. I've actually put a lot of hours into it when it first came out. I haven't touched it recently, but I had a lot of fun when I first played it.
Was there anything that really jumped out at you that's like a cool new feature that you weren't able to do in the original?
Actual combat-wise, it looks basically the same as it did in the original. A lot of kind of just attack counters, basic kind of Batman Arkham.
Yeah, I was going to say, it still looks like it's still Assassin's Creed-y with the Batman Arkham style of beat 'em up, which I mean is probably one of the best blends still, even though people complained that they were stealing code, and they kind of were, but they were kind of stealing from the best in a lot of ways. Now, a different way to look at it is just they were taking what works the most and putting it all together into one package, which, I mean, to some degree you can argue that's stealing, but at the same time, it's still satisfying in the end to have a blend of those two up there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to hate it at the same time.
Yeah, but what excited me most about it was the Nemesis system update that they did with it, because that was actually what I enjoyed most about the first one. Mm-hmm. That's what I kept coming back to do more of, was fighting these guys who, like these captains and war chiefs, and making them come under my side and making enemies, and kind of like building my own story from what the game gave to me. And they're expanding on that a lot in this one, where you can actually start building your own armies.
Oh, nice.
For those who don't know, what is Nemesis?
The Nemesis system is essentially the game will recognize your interactions with certain enemies in the game. So, for example, if you are killed by an enemy, and then you come, and then when you respawn, you find that enemy, they will recognize that they killed you and basically taunt you. And
That's awesome.
then they will be raised up in the ranks. There's like a whole ranking system of captains and then higher rank captains and war chiefs. Now they got warlords, which essentially get their own castles essentially and own domains. But yeah, in the original, essentially, so like, yeah, if they killed you, they would recognize that. And also if you fought one of them and they escaped, they would remember that. Each captain had their own fears and weaknesses that you could exploit to defeat them. It was a really fun system that was basically the reason why I kept coming back to play more of it. The story-wise, it wasn't that interesting.
Okay. I was also going to ask, like, how does this build in that original story? But
yeah, the ending for the first game was kind of a letdown, especially the final boss fight, which was just a quick time event essentially.
Oh, really?
It was bad.
In like 2013 or 14 when it came out, like
Yeah.
we're still doing quick time events to kill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
it was-
stopped in 2006 or something.
It was pretty bad, but like I said, the thing that kept pulling me back to play more was that Nemesis system, essentially being like a bully to these dumb or guy or whatever they are.
I think it's still an open world game, right? So it's kind of
Yeah, I don't know.
you can still do side quests. So even if you're done with the main campaign, you could still come back to it and have a reason to do it, right?
Yeah, like it's an open world, but I don't know how massive it's going to be. They only showed like the dynamic like battle sequence against this warlord that you could have. And then they zoomed out, but you know, we've seen that before in teasers, and then it's just like, oh, this is
It's actually a way to get you to the next level and not actually have an open world, however.
yeah. So I don't know just how interactive that open world is going to be, but it was really. I'm excited for it actually. I like that they focused on the upgrading the Nemesis system.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, James, for joining us today. For more impressions on the latest games, be sure to check out doublejumpgamingnews.com.
We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back to Double Jump Gaming News. Grand Theft Auto, Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Far Cry, and even Elder Scrolls are open-world franchises that have been on store shelves for decades. Now games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, and even the latest Legend of Zelda have joined the massive open-world genre of games, adding hours of gameplay to your gaming backlog over the past 2 weeks. How do we as gamers decide on which behemoth to tackle first? Joining me for this discussion is James, Sabina, and Connor. So the main reason we're discussing this is because there are such big games open on the store shelves right now. And not even 2 weeks have passed and hours of gameplay, hundreds of hours of gameplay can go in just one of these. Like, how do we decipher like which one is best for you to tackle if you were only able to buy one of them right now? And I mean, I guess the argument would be for Switch people or people who are picking up a Switch, I would say that maybe Zelda would be the way to go. If you have a Wii U, maybe Zelda's the way to go as well. But if you have like a PS4, Wii U, Switch, etc., like, you know, what would you say is your argument would be for, Horizon, for instance, on PS4 exclusively?
So the big thing about Horizon is probably the giant robot monsters that you fight in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely the biggest pull for that game. When I saw the original teaser for that game, that's basically what I was excited for most was being able to fight a giant robotic T-Rex. And the game, yes, and the game fully delivers on that.
The double apocalypse.
So if you were enticed by fighting giant robot dinosaurs, the game succeeds in that.
It just misses the in space part, but you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And there's like giant machines everywhere throughout this world, so it's not like another game, Metal Gear Solid 5. I enjoyed that game, but when you were in the actual open world end of it, there wasn't much going on. It was very, like, there's a few outposts here and there, but there weren't many enemies to actually tackle. Whereas in Horizon Zero Dawn, there's basically some giant machine around every corner that you can come across and fight. But again, you can run past them if you want to. You don't have to directly combat them, but I thoroughly enjoyed tackling the beast that the game provided me with.
It's funny you say that because I feel like in Zelda there's a lot of areas that are, it sounds like almost every corner you turn you're going to find something new in Horizon. Zelda, yes there's that, but I feel like there's a lot of open areas that have nothing there for you to just simply cruise by and try to run and then be slowed down by your stamina meter. And then once you recover, you run again, you slow down, eventually you might find a horse, hopefully, but it kind of is random depending on which path you chose. Like Horizon, it sounds like is there ever those points where you just like are walking and you're like, there has been nothing going on for 2 minutes straight? And
well, there's like a couple side quests that kind of feel like that, where if you ever played The Witcher, you know how in The Witcher you have, I'm comparing to a lot of games.
Yeah, no. Choose one with Spider-Man. How does that compare to Spider-Man?
Horizon is essentially a greatest hits of open world games that have come out over the years, and it does a good job with all of it. If you going back to The Witcher, there's like The Witcher Sense, where you can track people's footprints, and there's like those side quests that kind of are tedious because it's just follow this line to your destination. There's a lot of side missions like that in Horizon, and that gets really tedious when it's just, look for the footprints, okay, and I'll follow the footprints to the destination, all right, and then you fight some people every now and then. I really enjoyed actually exploring the world. I never felt like I was bored. It was more of a, what should I do? Do I want to fight this thing now, or do I just want to go do the mission or the side quest? It wasn't really, I'm bored, I don't have anything to do.
Does that sound like Ghost Recon in that case, where you've got things to do almost every turn that you look at the game? Every time you open up that map, you're seeing probably 20 more things to do in next, couple of kilometers or whatever?
Oh yeah, there's a lot in between you and your objective usually in Ghost Recon. And the map in Ghost Recon is just ridiculous. I've only played for a few days and only unlocked a small sliver of it. But there's just every 5 feet, there's something new. There's just guys sitting there. And a lot of the Ghost Recon is marking supplies for the rebels. So there are supplies just kind of everywhere that you're like, there'll just be a blip on the map. And you're like, well, I'm next to it. There's 2 guys there, I'll take them out. Do the little blip, and then all of a sudden you're like, I've been moving across this map for about 20 minutes now, and I've only been getting these little blips, and the thing's not that far away. So, you gotta really kind of divvy up your time. You're like gonna go, am I gonna try to get everything on the way, or am I just gonna go, I'm gonna get the stuff when I need to get the stuff?
Now, Ghost Recon has co-op, which is probably the only thing that differs Zelda and Horizon from it. Like, the co-op in that game, I'm giving in comparison, you're more isolated in Horizon, or you might run into a few people who could be side quests in Zelda and Horizon. You don't feel like there's like a connection unless you scan in like an amiibo for a companion for Wolflink. So I guess how would we conclude this? Like if you picked up a Switch and a Wii U and you love Zelda, go for Zelda. For PS4 players, should you go for Horizon or should you go for Ghost Recon?
I think if you're going to go for Wildlands, you kind of look at it as, I'm going to play this with some people, because the world's big by yourself, and I just think if you're going to sit down and go, I'm going to play this entire game by myself, you're going to be like, that's the next month or 2 of my life.
Okay.
But with another person, the world feels a lot smaller.
All right, thank you for your time. But we have to close the show right now, unfortunately. We had a great discussion on Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon, and the newest Middle-earth Shadow of War gameplay reveal at the beginning of the show. And if you missed it, head over to DoubleJumpGamingNews.com and watch the full version of the show once again.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're at it.
See you next time for more gaming discussions.